Jai Vishnu Parabrahmamsa Parvati Shri Srimati Sivani Bhaktivinoda Samarachala Prabhupada Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Das Thakur Ki Jai Prem se ko Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhupada Shri Advaita Adhar Shri Gaur Bhaktarinda Ki Jai Samaveta Bhaktarinda Ki Jai Gaur Pramananda Hari Hari. All glories to the assembly board. All glories to the assembly board. All glories to the assembly board. All glories to Shri Shri Guru Shri Guru Ram. All glories to Shri Shri Om Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 This is from Srimad Bhagavatam 6th Canto, chapter 11, text 19. Suresha Kasman Na Vinosi Vajram Graha Shtite Vairini Mai Amogam Samshayista Kadeva Vajraha
like the club.
Vajraha, the thunderbolt.
Syat, Sha
may be.
may be.
Nishpalaha
Nishpalaha
with no result.
with no result.
Kripana
Kripana
from a miserly person.
from a miserly person.
Artha for money.
For money.
Eva like. Yajna a request. Translation. O King of the demigods, since I, your enemy, am standing before you, why don't you hurl your thunderbolt at me? Also you attack upon me that your club was certainly useless, like a request of money from a miser. The thunderbolt you carry will not be useless. You need have no doubt about this. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. When King Indra threw his club at Vitrasura caught it in the left hand and retaliated by using it to strike the head of Indra's elephant. Thus Indra's attack was a disastrous failure. Indeed, Indra's elephant was injured and thrown back 14 yards. Therefore, even though Indra stood with the thunderbolt to hurl against Vitrasura, he was doubtful, thinking that the thunderbolt might also fail. Vitrasura, however, being a Vaishnava, assured Indra that the thunderbolt would not fail. For Vitrasura knew that it had been prepared in accordance with the instruction of Lord Vishnu. Also, Indra had doubts because he could not understand that Lord Vishnu's order never fails. Vitrasura understood Lord Vishnu's purpose. Vitrasura was eager to be killed by the thunderbolt manufactured according to Lord Vishnu's instruction, because he was sure that he would thus return home back to Godhead. He was simply waiting for the opportunity of the thunderbolts being released. In effect, therefore, Vitrasura told Indra, if you want to kill me, since I am your enemy, take this opportunity, kill me. You will gain victory and I shall go back to Godhead. Your deed will be equally beneficial for both of us. Do it immediately. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamani Namaste Saraswati Devam Gauravani Prachani Nirvishi Vishishnyavani Pashkati Vizatani. O King of the demigods, since I, your enemy, am standing before you, why don't you hurl your thunderbolt at me? Also you attack upon me that your craft was certainly useless, like a request of money from a miser. The thunderbolt you carry will not be useless. You need have no doubts about this. So this is certainly an amazing conversation, because here you have both actually being devotees of Krishna. Indra holding a weapon which was directly designed by Vishnu, and Vitrasura playing the role of the culprit, so to say. So being even a superior Vaishnava, which is revealed through the conversation, that both are completely beyond bodily consciousness. This is clearly a lila. This is not to be understood in a mundane way of the one who is actually gaining and one who is losing, and friend and enemy, and all the dualities don't come into the picture here, because they are both actually performing a lila where Vitrasura is playing one part, Indra is playing the other, and especially Vitrasura is actually even being the enemy and finally to be killed. He is exhibiting superior knowledge, because we can see Indra, so you know Indra is in the whole Bhagavatam several times described as the one who is in trouble, because he is embodying the lusty aspect of Krishna, and lust brings always trouble. So this is Indra's role to be played, Indra hiding in a lake and being prosecuted by sinful reactions, and we know how his whole bodily design came about. It's quite embarrassing actually. So this is all different pastimes. Vitrasura is actually a very noble person, even playing the role of an enemy, and very powerful one. He's extremely noble in his behavior. So ultimately, who is the good guy and who is the bad guy is not easy to recognize here, because Vitrasura is actually start to preach to Indra. because he's driven by the desire to get rid of this body and go back to Godhead. Because that weapon designed by Vishnu is Vishnu and is actually, capable to free him from his huge body he had. From the description later, it was huge. And Indra is simply helping him to get rid of the body. That's generally a situation of a devotee. Devotees are not exactly the people who are excited to reside in this body. The more and more they advanced, the more and more they actually feel embarrassed to be in this body. This is not to be said about the karmis who are to the last breath and last minute of their life trying to polish the bodies and secure the bodies and still derive some sort of sense gratification out of that body. Like the last organ which is usually still alive and active is the tongue. So therefore you see the pensioner is just bubbling all the time. That's the push of the speech. For no purpose whatsoever, they bubble, and taste, Even the doctor said no sweets, they still have to chew on sweets and something, Even all the other organs are actually quite finished. They can hear so hardly something, they can see so hardly something, they cannot hardly walk, The sex life is a pathetic idea, but still it's there. It's all in the mind, and still I could give devastating examples of my own, ending up being in a room full of pensioners upon my appendix operation in the city of Malmö. I remember the man lying opposite to me. He was lying in the hospital for so long, they had to turn him around so he doesn't catch fungus. The body was he was high like this. He was just a flat piece of paper, white, bluish, and they had to turn him 3 times a day around. And he was not eating anymore. He was just living from his pipes which were, connected to his veins. And still he was excited because one of the bottles going into his body was pinkish and another one was bluish. Maybe they defined the color of his body, I don't know. And, and he liked the pink one more, Even there was no taste involved. And 3 times a day the nurses came and had to turn him around and wash him. And then, it was castle, it was just straight ahead of me, the distance 1.5, 2 meters, So whenever I opened my eyes, there was this corpse lying there with glowing eyes, And when the nurses came and turned him around, with the last strength he still tried to touch the nurse. The lust was still raging. And the nurses always had to put he was like an octopus, his hands were all the time going after the nurses, after the breasts and after the bodies. And they were always like, put the hand down, and again the hand came out. In the middle of the night I woke up feeling somebody staring at me. And there was this man, they had this triangle hanging over the bed. They can lift themselves up a little bit like that, holding to it. So he clinched to this triangle with all his strength, with his eyes glowing in the darkness. And he said, I do speak English. And then he collapsed back again. That was a night's anyway, appendix operation is not so big, so I ran away from that place after 3-4 days. I just walked out. I didn't care, I just walked out. Very bizarre display of how they clenched to the last second. The man somehow couldn't die. He was cursed because the body was already finished. So so this is lessons Krishna gives you on the road to see how people are desperately clinging to this body, which is, in a definition of the Shastra, already dead now. It's always dead. It only kind of exhibits life symptoms and it's growing and finally living due to the presence of the soul. Otherwise, in itself, the body is dead. So Vritrasura was very much aware of this. and seeing actually the purpose of the battle, his return back home, back to Gred, being defeated by Indra, being discouraged, he encouraged him more. Come on, pick up the thunderbolt. Don't worry. You will be able to kill me. Because Indra, was actually on the way discouraged. There are many lessons derived just from the purport. Like the reason why actually Indra had to win, because he had a weapon designed by Vishnu. That was actually the only reason. And Vritrasura knew that. So we can project it into our lives that whatever we do under the instruction of spiritual master and whatever is designed by Vishnu will never fail. It's impossible to fail. All the trouble we experience and all the setbacks and all that, this is actually due to the bodily circumstance and due to our identification still with the body. Prabhupada said boldly, he said, if you would all really listen what I'm saying and follow me, we could take the whole world over in 18 days. He really meant it. But because of this doubt, always bodily directed doubt, we are slowed down. And that slow down means that actually our mind is constantly turning to our personal situation, which is natural, because Prabhupada said, let's face it, that's reality. He said, even the house is on fire, the first thought coming to you is, how do I save myself? Not really the others. At least that's applicable for the majority of population. It's only the Kshatriya and Brahmana who really are capable to come out of this egocentric consciousness and think really about the welfare of the others. Even it's not unconditioned either. Brahmana may think, look, I'm so learned, I want to teach you. Kshatriya may think, look, I'm so powerful, I can protect you. That's all still conditioning. But still they always think out towards the others. Whereby Vaishya and Shudra usually are mercilessly selfish. That's the Vedic culture is controlling it all the time. Vaishya must pay taxes. He must give. If he doesn't, the Kshatriya will force him. And the Shudra, he must just serve. Serve. Not himself, others. Serve. That's the training, all the time driven in. To contrary, you find in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna even says, get rid of it. Give it, even for charity causes or something like that. For what cause? You can see people who are actually in a giving mood, even for bodily purposes, and that's most of the time the case. They're still somewhat more relieved. They are not so tormented, like the greedy misers, who always try to pile it up and stock it up and save it and protect it, and at the end you do just that. That's the reason why you see so many rich people all, being so miserable. Because they don't know how to give. They don't know where to give. They don't know to whom to give. So therefore, the whole day you think, oh no, now I have it. Now I have to secure it. Somebody will take it. It's the biggest struggle for rich people. It's not how to make money, but how to protect it from others. Constant, anxiety. And that we cannot enjoy, really. Sometimes a penniless man is enjoying more. He has nothing to lose. So he's just, kind of happy. And finally, when it comes down to it, to the bodily pleasures to be found in eating, sleeping, and mating and defending, this can be done under very simple and very you could say, happy circumstances. We could see it, and even in the old lecture cultures here in Europe, how people were conducting their lives in such a simple way. I still got some taste of it when I was in Czech Republic in a small village. The lady opposite who was living was, 85 years old, and she was just so, and she was a lecture lady. She was eating meat, everything. But still she was a kind of peaceful in that regard, temporarily, because she told me, my grandmother used to teach me, don't go even to the city. They will teach you to want things you don't need. Simple lecture. So she was born in that house. She was living in that house. Her husband was born in the next house. you know. And usually they were quite practical. They were going, yeah, I like him. Of course I could like so many other men, but why not this one? He's living only 20 meters away. So the marriage was arranged, and they were just... The husband was actually quite exceptional. He died in my view almost, but he's just quite exceptional. Also because of never really had a desire to do something more as what he was doing. You could call it very mediocre. But in their lives as being Shudras and lecturers, they found some satisfaction because they never strived to break out of this and, oh, this could be better over there, and how you could get there. You know, no. Why don't you just take what you have in front of your nose and use it? Even that very little idea about, she was religious, she liked the Buddhist chanting and this, but they really didn't have much, there was no teaching, there was no spiritual life really. But just that mood of not looking anywhere else. If you see sometimes amongst devotees, there is such a high degree of dissatisfaction, so much agitation that it becomes even visible to karmis. They feel, you know, I just came here to be peaceful and you know, this is the mood we emanate to the external world. People can see that. They think, wait a minute, when I become Krishna, when I become even more flipped out? I'm already flipped out completely. What is this? You know, there's something wrong here. And it is, yeah. How many times in Prabhupada's lectures you hear that word peaceful? Just listen. How many times he mentions the word peaceful? This is actually the main key or main reason why he got devotees married. He said, settle down, be peaceful, live like a gentleman. And we know Grihastha Ashrama is really not a place where you can be too peaceful for nobody. But it could be. It could be. If everybody gets this damn rotten idea that something else is better, I have to go to Mayapur, and from Mayapur I go to Vrindavan, and in Vrindavan I go Govardhan. You know, and I cannot play cards like this, I have to play cards like this. And I cannot play Nidanga like this, I have to do something new. I have to change this, and we have to adjust that, we have to make progress. It's purely out of passion. Prabhupada said, you know what, you don't even need that Mridanga, you don't even need the cards. You have two hands, just clap. When you have tongue, just chant. And be peaceful. If you get the Mridanga, why not? If you get cards, why not? But he always pushes issues. We have to have like seminars of agitation. How do we get more agitated? We have to read something Prabhupada didn't say. We have to quote something. We have to go into the Mahaparva Upaveda. I discovered a scripture, it is translated by Mr. Müller. You know? And these devotees run to bookshops and tear out these books and quote and argue and discuss and big halabalu. Completely defeating the whole purpose. Why not just cool down? And look around. What do you got? Hey, there is something we can do like this. Under minimal arrangement. So knowledge or management based on knowledge means to simplify things, not to make them more complex. But being polluted by this Western, idea that we have to complicate our lives in the name of progress, we project this also into Krishna consciousness. Constantly just, no, Prabhu, you have to wear the chakra like that. Prabhu, you have to wear the dhoti like that. And this like this, it's all the time something, No, Prabhu, you can't wear the dhoti like this. Sannyasis wear the dhoti like this. No. And then this discussion, shall I wear the dhoti? How can I wear the dhoti when I dig a ditches? Because anytime I go in a ditch, the dhoti gets stuck in the mud. Oh, all the time. Shall we follow Chaturmasya or not? I can give you a whole, day of these quotes. Chaturmasya, yes, let's Chaturmasya. let's be renounced, we aren't going to shave anymore, we aren't going to cut any fingernails, we are going to look like savages. That's renounced, you know. That's where Prabhupada once came to Mayapur and he found Prabhupada and beards like this. His only comment was, you both look like Ramakrishna. That was the only comment he gave. Big yogi means a big beard. Yeah, okay, yeah, if you have nothing else to do, do this. But our principle, our top priority is not our top priority is to preach and to deliver the holy name. And for this you would basically need only 2 hands and 1 tongue. That's the equipment. That's simple and save time so we can talk to people. If the chance even arises in the West, it's heavy. Where you find someone you can talk to about Krishna? Struggle, yeah. And then, then we have to live somewhat, people see what we are doing, not what we are saying. What we are saying, they cannot even hear. They are so dull. So, so education happens by simply communicating, by being living, alive. So when in countries where this is already given as the basic culture, preaching is more easy. In countries where people talk to each other 2 times a year, and the communication can be, and the language is even so minimalistic. I always insult the Swedish nation on this point. The Swedish nation is, when I came to Sweden, I was thinking, when they are going to speak. They are just kind of barking on each other, these coded messages, but when they are going to speak. Because when you live in a country where people go, hey, ne, tak, that means hello, no, and thank you. And that's it. Hey, ne, tak. In Norway they even minimize it more, they don't even say that. They just go, so, and that's it. For the rest of the day. There's nothing more coming. Just the wind blowing through the endless Norwegian forest. It's like, hey! But I know it's a beautiful language actually, and when I get into it, it sounds quite interesting. It sounds like a very, very noble and elevated children from kindergarten. It's a very kind of colorful thing. You just hear the sound. Sometimes it's good not to understand the language because it's the sound which is actually the most important thing. There's a whole science about linguistic thing, how languages came about. It has nothing to do really with the rational transmission of information. It's more expression of a mood, it's all purely emotional, So I can never try to ask what an Italian wants to tell you. He doesn't want to tell you anything. He just produces sounds. It's just sound coming out. It's just he has to express himself in a certain way. The message of the rational background is not hardly there. So this is how we actually are motivated, and that's how people actually respond to. People are sentimental. This is whole bodily consciousness means senti and mental. It's based on essential and mental perception. And that's actually how we perceive Krishna consciousness in the first place. And then comes actually far more later, based on tapasya, comes actually the rational explanation to that, what we are doing. It should be there in the beginning, but mostly it's not. It's like it or not like it. This is actually what we are basing our life on. I like it and I don't like it. But this is all sensual, this is all sentimental. Even we pretend sometimes to be a great philosophers, and great things, but actually we are heavily rocked by emotions, desires. This is what actually desire is, such a heinous thing that as you speak something very eloquent,